Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about trust falls. Not banking and not anything falling, but the episode 2 of The Lanterns. It was titled Trust Falls, and it's all about trust. The trust between Hal and Jon Stewart, the trust between Jon Stewart with Hal, the trust with Hal and Sheriff Carey, the trust between the town and Hal as a Green Lantern, the trust with William, that nobody trusts this dude. You know you don't trust him. If you do, so there's all kinds of like issues in here with trust. And so there's this episode, let me just tell you, I think I now like this episode more than I liked episode 1. And I loved episode 1. And even after breaking it down, and I'm like, well, there's these little nitpickings, which one, I still stand by that in this one, I still want it, and it didn't happen, was when we see Hal fly, we don't get to see the green light go around him. Give me a light trail. Give me a slight green energy trail that just, something to show that he's flying. Now, I did really like when, now, all right, let me say this. I know I'm already behind. Spoilers. If you have not watched episode 2 of Lanterns, then there's going to be spoilers. And, I'll give you a chance. 3, 2, 1. All right. Boom, you now know. You should have moved along. So spoilers. So, and in these spoilers, it's not in any particular order of how I'm going to go I'm not going to do chronologically from the start of the episode to the end. I'll be jumping around. So jumping to when Hal has, like, he's going and he's driving downtown and he's like, what's going on? Something's weird. And he takes off. Love how he just flies and just kind of hovers. And I like that they make it a little, it's not that smooth looking. I don't know if they did that on purpose or maybe, when they had him on the rig and they lifted him, that's just how it ends up looking. But I think it worked. For me, it worked because it looked like, he knows how to do it, but he's not doing any like the typical superhero pose, especially like hovering where I don't have a figure I could show, but where the one leg is it's bent up while the other is hanging down, and with your foot kind of at a low angle, kind of show that all the weight is off of you. I'm glad they didn't do that. So I thought that was really cool. So there's there's so much going on in this episode. One, it made me think about the title itself, Lanterns. Now, at the beginning, I just assumed that it's going to be about the Green Lanterns, the Green Lantern Corps, and about the actual Green Lanterns. What if it's not? What if this incorporates the other Lanterns? And I bring that up because we get a scene when Jon Stewart goes to get the power battery. He gets kidnapped, abducted, maybe because these are basically aliens. So he's technically not kidnapped. He's abducted by aliens. He just stayed on the planet. And I think that Anton, that's the name that he's been given. I don't think they say it in the episode. I looked it up on, the IMDb and all that to see, because the actor, Paul Ben Victor, the actor, is named Anton, Antaan. I've liked him since the early 2000s when he was on The Invisible Man, but that's a different thing. But is he Atrocitus? Is he, maybe they don't want to spoil that it's Atrocitus. And in this speech that he gives to Jon Stewart about the Manhunters coming down and just wiping out everybody, that's the story of Sector 666, which is where Atrocitus is from, and that's where the Red Lanterns are formed. And then now we get Sinestro. That's a Yellow Lantern. That's at least two new Lanterns. So maybe the show Lanterns is not about the Green Lanterns, but about multiple. Maybe they'll bring in, they might not show them, but they possibly could talk about them. The total of 9 Lanterns, 10 if you count the gold, that's new. So that's good. That's cool. But in that conversation, I have my little notes. So Anton talks about the killing and all that, and how it was done by manhunters, who are machines that are able to take and build basically bodies that would mimic anything, any race. So that, going back to the front of the episode, when Hal is going through the metal detectors that detect aliens, maybe that's the part of the Martian Manhunter technology. So it's possible that maybe in this, with the story of Abin Sur coming to Earth, maybe Abin Sur brought Atrocitus. He went and got Atrocitus, brought him to Earth. They crashed. Atrocitus gets out. He has no way to get off the planet anymore. And the Manhunters are still after them. And so now the Manhunter knows that, hey, somewhere in this area of this small town, there is Atrocitus, and he's hunting down Atrocitus. And so the Manhunter or Manhunters give technology to some of the people to do this. That's a possibility. It's also a possibility that maybe that we saw from episode 1 that Hal Jordan is it's not dead. Maybe that is a Manhunter. That's different. I mean, those are just theories. So, but back to the episode, part of it, that's why so much is in this, is that it makes me think about all that. The fact that the box that the power battery was in, loved it. And we've seen these pocket dimensions before in Superman and Peacemaker. But what's really cool is the pocket dimension was something that Sinestro told Hal in the comic books about how he could keep the lantern. So he could basically have it anywhere he needed it, instead of where he kept it at, I think, at the Ferris airfield before, in like a locker or something. So he would have to physically go get it. Which in this case, he still had to do that, but it's like a combination of the two. He had to physically be there to reach in and then do the pocket universe. But that was really cool. The really surprising thing in this, which they had Hal be surprised about, and Anton, who might be Atrocitus or somebody else, is the fact that John Stewart had a construct that technically was sentient. What surprised Hal was, as soon as John gave him the ring, it should have disappeared. That construct of the bird should have said, ploop, but it didn't. It kept going. And then not only did it keep going, but John, at least consciously that we know of, was not controlling the bird. The bird was just doing its own thing. And what further proves, I think, my point of this, that it was sentient or semi-sentient, is that when John is being attacked in the van, the bird, you could see, is attacking the aliens. And they are aliens because they showed strength. I mean, they picked him up with, that one dude picked John up from flat on the ground, lifted him up with one arm, and then slammed it into the ceiling of the van. So that's some alien level strength. So that's really impressive that John was not only able to still have a construct that became sentient, but one that stayed around after he gave up the ring, but then the ring ran out of power. That definitely should have made that disappear, but it didn't. That means that power is coming from somewhere. So they could be drawing on the current version of Jon Stewart, where in the comics he is his own power battery. So that would be amazing, which could be why the Guardians handpicked him. So Anton was also very impressed by it. Like, how is Hal keeping this here? And then when John's like, it's not Hal, it's me. And he's like, okay, it's really impressive. Because it is. It's a very impressive feat. If you know the Green Lanterns, it should have just disappeared. I'm assuming that the planet that Hal flew off to was Oa. Because when he's walking inside, that's the science cells where they keep all the baddies that they get. Basically, it's a prison, the science cells. And he talked to Sinestro. So overall, yeah, I really liked this episode. I like that Hal, when he was in the bed, you could see in the reflection that he checks to see if he still has the ring on. The fact that he is mumbling about Sinestro in his sleep. That's something. Sheriff Kelly mentions that she was from Gotham. So, could she... I know it's a far stretch, but people are stretching, what if she was related to Jim Gordon? I doubt that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people come from Gotham, and especially the Coast City. That's not a big deal. So, yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. I think that this episode, for me, opened it up even more to the mystery and the possibility of all the stuff that come to the other Lantern Corps, getting to see Atrocitus and the Red Lanterns, and finding out, that somewhere along the line, the Manhunters are working with the humans. And not only that, but the sheriff knows. She's like, yeah, this has been a known thing. So there's a lot going on in this little town, which is why he would stay in there. He's like, yeah, that's why he put that alert up. He knew something was up with this little town. And this episode just shows that. The fact that Hal's house was empty shows like how he has no attachment to anything. And I know, like, there's the idea that it's like it does show that he's a lonely man, but it also shows that without the attachment, he has nothing to fear to lose. Like, my comics, I fear to lose them, all in one way or another. It's like, I don't want somebody to steal them. I don't want any kind of damage done to them. No, don't want any water, fire, none of that kind of stuff. No floods, no fire damage, no lightning, none. That's a fear. My camera I'm using on this that I just got, if it falls and breaks, or somebody hits it or they steal it, that's a fear of losing it. So that's a thing, he has this house he has no possessions, which means he has no attachments. And no attachments means he has no fear. Or fear of that loss of those attachments, including people, yes. So I think that was another way of showing that. I like that when he recharged his ring and he said the oath, he just was like, he had to get it out. He's like, I have to say this, but I don't want to have to say it, so I'm just saying it. And he said it as quickly as possible. I'm liking the look of the power battery. It's grown on me since I've seen the images of it. Seeing it in action made it look a little cooler. This episode, I think, I thought episode 1 was a 9, so I won't go no higher than a 9. Though, after the issues, I might have lowered it to an 8. So, but I'd still keep it between an 8.5 and a 9 for both of these kind of So I'm liking what's going on. I can't wait to see the interaction between Jon Stewart and Guy Gardner. I watched the previews at the end of it, as I did the last one. There is definitely 100% something more going on with Jon Stewart's dad. I'm still thinking even more so that Jon Stewart's dad might have, maybe the Guardians mixed him up with Jon Stewart Jr. and was like, well, we're here to recruit you, and then started the recruitment and realized this wasn't the Jon Stewart that they were meant to pick, and then was like, nope. And then so now his dad started doing what he did to train Jon Stewart Jr. So, because we see he held up a Green Lantern blanket or shirt or something that had the symbol on it. So, and he was young. He was a kid. So something's going on there. Overall, I want to end this with saying that I really love this episode. There's a lot going on. I really want to give a more in-depth talk about it. I want to talk about the idea that Atrocitus, which I don't think the people when Anton had Jon Stewart pinned down on the chair, I don't think that is, I wrote it down to make sure, yeah, it's the 5 inversions. So the idea of that was when the Manhunters attacked Sector 666, there were 5 of them that survived that attack, and Atrocitus led them to go out for their revenge, and they became the 5 inversions, and then they became the Red Lanterns. But I don't think that's them, unless they recruited other people, because there were 6 total people in there. 7 if you count John. Like I said, maybe they recruited somebody. So there's a lot going on in this episode that gave little hints to things. They showed Hal's suit, which, everybody complained about being that it was brown. I think, it's like maybe they hadn't color-coded it yet. And now that they're showing it, you see it's green, but it's faded. It's worn. And if he's been going 10 years at least, where he hasn't contacted the Guardians, he hasn't done his download to the ring, and he's avoiding all his normal duties, and he's still out in space doing whatever and coming to Earth, maybe the suits are getting beat up, and that bright green that it once was is now a dull green and dirty and faded and going away. But again, I'm going to end this. I've been rambling. Love the episode. I can't wait for episode 3. I'm really enjoying this. This does, to me, feel like a Green Lantern, like we're getting a little bit. I'm sure we'll get more, hopefully, of the ring usage and seeing what's going on with it. But so far, my main one gripe, need the green energy field around them. Other than that, right now, love it. So tell me what you think. Do you think Anton is Atrocitus? Were the people around him the 5 inversions? Are they the Manhunters? I don't think they're the Manhunters. Do you think that Hal at the end of episode 1 is a Manhunter that was killed? What's going on? Did the Manhunters help create the metal detectors that detect aliens, or did Anton help do that? Or maybe Lex Luthor? Tell me in the comments, like and subscribe, do all that happy stuff, and let me know, and I'll talk to y'all in the next video.